Hello everyone. Today we are going to finish up Numbers, and when we were together last time, we left off with Balaam, and if you remember, Balaam had been summoned by Balak, the king of the Moabites, because he's seeing what the children of Israel are doing, um, in terms of the land they're possessing. They're coming through and they're moving into the land of Canaan. So he had summoned for Balaam, and we had seen the first three prophecies of Balaam last time we were together, and then today we're going to get into the fourth prophecy, picking up in chapter 24. So, um, and also leading into that in verse 14 of chapter 24. Balaam is speaking to Balak, and he says, "And now indeed I'm going to my people. Come, I will advise you what this people will do to your people in the latter days." So, in other words, what the children of Israel are going to do to the Moabites. In addition, we'll see in this prophecy even to some of the others in the latter days. Verse 15, this is the fourth prophecy of Balaam. "So he took up his oracle and said, The utterance of Balaam, the son of Beor, and the utterance of the man whose eyes are opened, the utterance of him who hears the words of God, and has the knowledge of the Most High, who sees the vision of the Almighty, who falls down with eyes wide open. I see him, but not now. I behold him, but not near. A star shall come out of Jacob, a scepter shall rise out of Israel, and batter the brow of Moab, and destroy all the sons of tumult. And Edom shall be a possession. Sire also his enemies shall be a possession. While Israel does valiantly, out of Jacob one shall have dominion, and destroy the remains of the city. Then he looked on Amalek." So Balaam here, he looks, in the region of Amalek, and this is what he says about them. "And he took up his oracle and says, Amalek was first among the nations, but shall be last until he perishes. Then he looked on the Kenites, and he took up his oracle and said, Firm is your dwelling place, and your nest is set in the rock. Nevertheless, Cain shall be burned. And how long until Asshur carries you away captive?" So Asshur is referring to the Assyrians, and so we're going to see Assyrian captivity later as we continue our study. "Then he took up his oracle and said, Alas, who shall live when God does this? But ships shall come from the coast of Cyprus," referring to Alexander the Great, "and they shall afflict Asshur," again Assyria, "and afflict Eber, and so shall Amalek until he perishes." So Balaam rose and departed and returned to his place. Balak also went his way. And then right in getting into verse 25, in 25 we see, um, let's see here. In 25, we're looking at Israel's harlotry in Moab. So after the fourth prophecy, Israel commits harlotry with the women of Moab. And let's see. Just a sec. I'm actually on the screen here having to rearrange some things. Okay. So 25, fourth prophecy, this is after the fourth prophecy. And in verses 2 and 3 of chapter 25, it says, they being the children of Israel, invited the people to the sacrifices of their gods, and the people ate and bowed down to their gods. So Israel was joined to Baal of Peor, and the anger of the Lord was aroused against Israel. So they ate. It says they ate. They're bowing down to these other gods, and anytime that food was given as an offering to another god, and if you ate of it, that was a form of submission as well. So they're eating of the foods. They're bowing down. They're having sexual relations with these Moabite women, and and two, although it's not mentioned here, we're going to see later in Numbers chapter 31, verse 16, that verse says, Look, these women caused the children of Israel through the counsel of Balaam to trespass against the Lord in the incident of Peor. So although Balaam had given the four prophecies and had not worked directly, was not able to do anything directly with the children of Israel, he did give counsel to Balak in terms of having, suggesting that the children of Israel, the women of Moab be brought into their congregation so that they would intermingle with them, and that's exactly what we're seeing here. So the Lord commands Moses to take the leaders after this intermingling with the Moabites and bowing down to their gods, to hang them out in the sun, so right out in the open. And so what this speaks to is out in the open, this would disgrace the dead and also warn others. And then Moses in verse 5 tells the judges of Israel to kill all the men who had joined themselves in Baal of Peor. So that's it. Everybody's about to be killed that had participated in this. But right on the heels of this, coming within the congregation, is a Simeonite leader who shows up with this Midianite woman. Now, the context here is the congregation is together with Moses and everyone, crying in front of the door of the tabernacle, just really in distress about what's going on here. And then the audacity of this Simeon leader showing up with this Midianite woman. He's taking her to his tent to have I assume to have sexual relations with her, or what have you. But he goes into the tent, and then it says Phinehas, who was the son of Eleazar the priest. Phinehas comes into the tent, and with his javelin, he thrusts the javelin through the man and the woman both at the same time. And this act of Phinehas turns back the wrath of God, and we see God giving the covenant of peace to Phinehas here. And then also in verse 17 of chapter 25, the Lord tells Moses to harass the Midianites. And then in chapter 26, Numbers 26, this is the second census. And if you remember in chapter 1 of Numbers, we had the first census of the people. So here we're having the second census, and the number here is in the second census is 601,730 people, which is about 1,820 people less than the first census. And remember, that first census was taken 1 year after leaving Egypt. And also, in the numbers of the people, we see a drastic decrease within the Simeonites tribe, decrease actually of 37,000 people. And just remembering what we just discussed, the Simeonites were highly involved in this the worship of Baal of Peor and intermingling with the women. And it was also one of the leaders of the Simeonites that was javelined by Phinehas. And then the only people remaining from the original census were Joshua and Caleb. Remember from when the spies had gone out, they came back and said, hey, let's go for it. And then the others that had spied out the land were scared, and then that's what had sent the people on this 40-year journey in the wilderness. In chapters 27 of Numbers, the daughters of Zelophehad of the tribe of Manasseh, they had no males in their numbers, so they're inquiring of Moses, hey, can we have possessions? And the Lord answered and said that they were able to inherit their father's portion. But in general, it was God's will that the land be inherited by the sons, then daughters, brothers, uncles, or nearest relatives. And what that would do is it would keep the land within the family. Also, Moses is told by God here in this chapter to summit Mount Abarim, and to see the promised land. And so he's gonna summit, he's gonna see the promised land, and then he's gonna die. And once he's told this, Moses' response instantly is to request of the Lord that he set a man over the congregation. And then here we read in verses 16 and 17. I don't know, this just really, to me, shows a great humility of Moses, and still, really looking out and providing intercession for the people. Verse 16, chapter 27. Let the Lord, the God of the spirits of all flesh, this is Moses to God, let the Lord, the God of the spirits of all flesh, set a man over the congregation, who may go out before them and go in before them, who may lead them out and bring them in, that the congregation of the Lord may not be like sheep which have no shepherd. And the Lord says to Moses, take Joshua the son of Nun with you, a man in whom is the Spirit, and lay your hand on him. Set him before Eleazar the priest and before all the congregation, and inaugurate him in their sight. And you shall give some of your authority to him, that all the congregation of the children of Israel may be obedient. He shall stand before Eleazar the priest, who shall inquire before the Lord for him by the judgment of the Urim. Whereas Moses was interacted directly with God, Joshua is going to interact with God through Eleazar. Eleazar is going to be beckoning, if you will, to God on his behalf. Also, usually, with the priesthood and even later with kingship, it would pass within the family. But this passing of authority from Moses to Joshua, Joshua was actually his servant. So we see an exception here as well. Getting into Numbers chapter 28 and 29. 28 so this is a reminder here of the offerings and feast, giving specific observations to be had in the new land. So we've seen some of the details before, and we read those again here. They're daily, weekly, monthly offerings, and also offering instructions for the various feasts. And then in chapter 30, we see some special instructions concerning vows, any vows made to the Lord. So a man making a vow to the Lord must carry it out without fail, right? So be a man of your word, and especially if it's a vow to the Lord, but to anyone. And then in terms of daughters and wives, so if a daughter gives a vow in the hearing of her father, or a wife in the hearing of her husband, the husband or father has a day basically to cancel this vow, and if he doesn't cancel the vow, then the lady has to follow through with it. The vow would stand, and then vows made by a widow or a divorced woman would always be binding. And if a husband canceled, we see here too, if a husband canceled a vow, after this day, after this timeline that's given, then it would be up to him to bring the required sacrifice or be punished by the Lord. Okay, Numbers chapter 31, verse 2, God commands Moses, take vengeance on the Midianites for the children of Israel. Afterward, you shall be gathered to your people. So 1,000 from each tribe is gathered together of these warriors. 12,000 total go against the Midianites, kill all the soldiers. Balaam also was killed. They took women and children as captives, in addition to all the spoil and all the booty of man and beast, we're told. And then picking up in verse 15, let's see here. And Moses said to them, have you kept all the women alive? Look, these women called the children of Israel through the counsel of Balaam to trespass against the Lord in the incident of Peor. And there was a plague among the congregation of the Lord. Now therefore kill every male among the little ones, and kill every woman who has known a man intimately. But keep alive for yourselves all the young girls who have not known a man intimately. They go through, so that's what takes place, and then they go through the prescribed purification and receive a command also to purify spoil with fire or washing with water. And we're also told that not a single Israelite soldier was harmed in this battle. And as such, the warriors bring a large offering to the Lord in gratitude. Of the spoil, 675,000 sheep, 72,000 cattle, 61,000 donkeys, and 32,000 virgin women. So quite a bit. Numbers 32, the tribes of Gad and Reuben approach Moses with a request of they want to stay east of the Jordan in this land of Gilead because they have a lot of livestock and the land's good for livestock. And Moses sees this basically as a repeat of those who didn't want to go into the land of Canaan after the spies had come out. And we see in verse 4 through 9, let's see here. 4 through 9. Or 6 through 9, sorry. Shall your brethren go to war while you sit here? Because this is what Moses is picking up. He's basically, you guys want to stay behind. We haven't even inherited the land yet, and now you're not even willing to go to war with us. So he says, shall your brethren go to war while you sit here? Now why will you discourage the heart of the children of Israel from going over into the land which the Lord has given them? And then 14, and look, you have risen to your father's place, referring back, they're doing the same thing as their fathers, a brood of sinful men to increase still more the fierce anger of the Lord against Israel. For if you turn away from following him, he will once again leave them in the wilderness, and you will destroy all these people. So this actually wasn't their intent. And so Gad and Reuben actually, they tell Moses, look, we will take all of our armed men of the tribe. We're going to cross over to Jordan with you guys. We're going to fight with you and all the other tribes so that until everyone's received their inheritance, and then we'll return. And then Moses agrees with them. And we see in verse 33, he says, Tell you what, guys, we've got 20 seconds left, so here's what we're going to do, because I want to finish numbers today. This is going to be part 1, and I'm going to end this video, and I'm going to do a brief part 2 so we can finish up. There's not much more to go, so see you in a moment.